Clara was gone, vanished. It was as if the forest had swallowed her whole, leaving no trace behind. The last time anyone saw her, she was heading towards Whispering Pines, a place known for its eerie silence and unsettling atmosphere. The forest seemed to hold its breath, as if it knew a secret it wasn't willing to share. Last seen a week ago near Whispering Pines. The authorities had searched, but found nothing. No footprints, no broken branches, nothing to indicate where she might have gone. It was as if she had simply disappeared into thin air.
Her friends Liam, Maya, and Ben refused to believe she was just gone. They couldn't accept that she had vanished without a trace. They knew Clara better than anyone, and they were determined to find her, no matter what it took. They decided to find her, or at least find out what happened. They gathered supplies, made plans, and steeled themselves for the journey ahead. They knew it wouldn't be easy, but they were ready to face whatever dangers the forest might hold.
I had a bad feeling. I couldn't explain it. It was like a knot in my stomach that wouldn't go away. Something about this felt different, more sinister. I couldn't shake the feeling that we were walking into a trap. Whispering Pines had always been creepy. Now it felt dangerous. The trees seemed to close in around us, their branches reaching out like skeletal fingers. The air was thick with fog, making it hard to see more than a few feet ahead. Every sound was amplified, every rustle of leaves sending shivers down our spines.
Maya, ever the optimist, tried to lighten the mood. She cracked jokes and made silly faces, trying to keep our spirits up. It was her way of coping, of pushing back the fear that threatened to overwhelm us. She joked about finding Bigfoot. It was a running gag among us, something to laugh about when things got too serious. But this time, the laughter felt forced, hollow. We all knew the stakes were higher now. Ben, silent and worried, just drove. His eyes were fixed on the road, his knuckles white as he gripped the steering wheel. He was the rock of our group, always steady and dependable. But even he couldn't hide the fear in his eyes.
The sun was already dipping below the horizon as we reached the edge of the woods. The sky was painted in hues of orange and pink, but the beauty of the sunset did little to calm our nerves. We knew we had to move quickly before darkness fell completely. Shadows stretched long and ominous between the tall pines. The forest seemed to come alive in the fading light, every shadow a potential threat. We could feel the weight of the unknown pressing down on us, urging us to turn back. But we couldn't, not now. A sign warned, Whispering Pines, private property, keep out. It was old and weathered, the letters barely legible, but the message was clear. We were entering forbidden territory, a place where we weren't welcome. But we had no choice. Clara was out there somewhere, and we had to find her.
Liam's hand trembled as he reached for his camera. He wanted to document everything, to have a record of our journey, just in case. It was a way to keep himself grounded, to focus on something other than the fear that gnawed at him.
Let's document this, just in case. We all agreed. It was a small comfort, knowing that if something happened, there would be a record of it. A way for others to understand what we went through. And maybe, just maybe, a clue to help find Clara.
The woods were unnaturally quiet. No birds sang, no squirrels chattered. It was as if the entire forest was holding its breath, waiting for something to happen. The silence was almost deafening, amplifying the sound of their own breathing and the occasional rustle of leaves underfoot. Only the sound of their own footsteps on the dry leaves. The air grew colder as they ventured deeper. Each step seemed to echo in the stillness, a reminder of their intrusion into this untouched wilderness. The path ahead was shrouded in mist, making it difficult to see more than a few feet in front of them. It felt heavy, like a wet blanket. The mist clung to their clothes and skin, adding to the sense of unease. Every now and then, a distant sound would make them pause, straining to hear if it was just their imagination or something more sinister lurking in the shadows.
I kept filming, capturing the unsettling stillness. The camera's lens seemed to pierce through the fog, revealing glimpses of the forest that were hidden to the naked eye. I hoped that by recording everything, we might find some clue to explain the eerie atmosphere.
Maya's jokes died in her throat. She kept glancing over her shoulder, her usual cheerfulness replaced by a nervous frown. It was clear that the forest was getting to her, just as it was to the rest of us. The oppressive silence and the feeling of being watched were almost too much to bear. Ben led the way, his eyes scanning the woods. He moved with a cautious determination, every muscle in his body tense and ready for anything. His confidence was reassuring, but even he couldn't hide the occasional flicker of doubt that crossed his face.
We found Clara's scarf hanging from a branch. It was her favorite, the one with the bright sunflowers. Seeing it there, in such an unexpected place, sent a chill down my spine. It was a stark reminder of why we were here and what we were searching for. My heart hammered in my chest. This was real, too real. The fear was palpable, and I could see it mirrored in the faces of my friends. We were no longer just exploring, we were on a mission, and the stakes were higher than we had ever imagined.
Liam pointed towards the faint glow they had seen earlier. It was barely visible through the thick mist, but it was there, a beacon in the darkness. We all turned to look, our curiosity piqued, and our fear momentarily forgotten.
This way. We moved as one, drawn towards the light like moths to a flame. Each step brought us closer to the unknown, and with it, a mix of hope and dread. What awaited us at the end of this journey was anyone's guess, but we knew we had to find out.
The smell hit them first, a sickly sweet aroma mixed with something rotten. It grew stronger as they neared the source of the eerie light. Ahead, a clearing broke through the oppressive trees. In the center, a fire burned in a ring of stones. The flames were an unnatural color, flickering green and purple. Strange symbols were etched into the ground around the fire pit. The air crackled with unseen energy.
I felt a shiver crawl down my spine.
This is wrong, we need to leave now.
But Liam was transfixed. He stepped closer to the fire, camera still rolling. He needed to see. He had to know. As they approached the fire, the shapes around it became clearer. They weren't human. Twisted and grotesque figures formed from shadow and smoke danced around the flames. Liam's breath caught in his throat. One figure stood taller than the others, its form shifting and swirling within a dark cloak. It turned towards them, and Liam felt a chill pierce his soul. Two glowing eyes, burning like hot coals, stared out from the darkness beneath the hood.
Clara!
The figure made no sound. It simply raised a hand, its long, skeletal fingers beckoning them closer. Liam felt an overwhelming urge to move towards the fire, to join the macabre dance.
Don't.
Ben shouted, grabbing Liam's arm and pulling him back. The spell, if it was one, broke. Liam stumbled, dropping the camera. It landed on the forest floor, the lens pointing up at the grotesque scene.
This is bad.
Ben hissed, his eyes darting around the clearing.
This is a ritual, a dark one.
The cloaked figure glided towards them, its eyes never leaving Liam.
A new host is needed.
A voice rasped from beneath the hood. The voice was old, filled with an ancient hunger.
One with fear in his heart, one who seeks answers.
Liam knew with chilling certainty that the creature was talking about him.
Run!
Ben didn't hesitate. He grabbed Maya's hand and pulled her away from the fire, back into the darkness of the woods. Liam, momentarily paralyzed by fear, watched as the shadowy figures closed in on him. The witch's laughter echoed through the trees, chilling him to the bone. He scrambled back, his foot catching on a root. He fell, the camera forgotten on the ground. He could hear the witch's raspy breathing getting closer. He had to get up. He had to get away. Adrenaline surged through him, banishing the paralysis. He scrambled to his feet and ran blindly into the darkness, the witch's laughter echoing behind him. Liam burst from the trees, gasping for breath. His heart pounded in his chest, each beat echoing in his ears like a drum. The forest around him was a blur of green and brown, the trees seeming to close in on him as he ran. He didn't know how long he had been running. Minutes? Hours? Time had lost all meaning in this endless maze of trees and shadows. The mist clung to his skin, cold and damp, making it hard to breathe. He didn't know where Ben and Maya were. They had been right behind him, hadn't they? He called out their names, his voice hoarse and desperate, but there was no answer, only the eerie silence of the forest. He was alone, or was he? The feeling of being watched was overwhelming, a prickling sensation on the back of his neck. He spun around, eyes wide, but saw nothing but trees and shadows. He felt different, changed. There was something inside him, something dark and powerful. It was as if the forest itself had seeped into his veins, altering him from the inside out. There was a pressure in his head, a voice whispering dark promises. It was seductive, almost comforting, urging him to give in, to let go. He clutched his head, trying to block out the insidious whispers. He looked down at his hands. They weren't his hands, they were skeletal, claws extending from his fingertips. His vision blurred, the world around him shifting and warping. They were skeletal, claws extending from his fingertips. His vision blurred. He could see the clearing again, the dancing shadows, the hungry eyes of the witch. He could see the clearing again, the dancing shadows, the hungry eyes of the witch. She had done this to him, twisted him into something monstrous. But this time he felt no fear. Only a strange sense of anticipation. The fear that had once gripped him was gone, replaced by a cold, calculating resolve. Only a strange sense of anticipation. He knew what he had to do. The witch had given him power, and he would use it. He would find Ben and Maya, and together they would confront the darkness. He knew what he had to do. The camera captured his final, chilling smile before the screen went black. The transformation was complete, and Liam was no longer the boy who had entered the forest. He was something else entirely. The camera captured his final, chilling smile before the screen went black. The transformation was complete, and Liam was no longer the boy who had entered the forest. He was something else entirely. The camera was found a week later, lying on the forest floor. The footage was recovered, but Clara was never found. Ben and Maya returned, forever scarred by what they had witnessed. They told their story, but no one believed them. They say that if you listen closely to the wind in whispering pines, you can hear the witch's laughter. And sometimes when the moon is full and the shadows are long, you might catch a glimpse of a young man with glowing green eyes, forever bound to the darkness. Whispering Pines remains closed to the public. The locals know the truth. Some stories are best left untold. Some places are best left undisturbed.